this could be like a really big fish. I don't know. I mean, he's tremendously heavy. I'm not really gaining much on him. Hey guys and girls, what's happening today? You know, there's nothing better to do on a windy day than break you out a crankbait. And I've got one of my favorites on right here. This is the American Original Deep Smoothie. This is called a Psycho Pow, or Psycho P-O-W, Psycho Pow. Got the red eyes that we've designed in there. And this is a small one, a little small one, shad-colored bait. Black on top, white on the bottom, a shad-colored bait. And I'll tell you what I've done here. I've cut the front hook off of this bait, taking the front hook off this bait, so as it comes over brush and stuff, it won't get hung up. And I'm fishing windy banks. I want to talk to you just a little bit about crankbait fishing. One of the key things in crankbait fishing is try to concentrate on as many points as you can. Points, little outcroppings that come out into the water. When you got a windy day like this, you want to get on the bank where the wind is blowing into the bank and kind of concentrate on those points. If you want, you can just go from point to point to point to point to point. The other thing in thinking about crankbait fishing, of course, is how deep you're going to catch the fish. I've got relatively a heavy line on here today. I've got like 17-pound test, high seas, Grand Slam. So I've got pretty heavy line on here. This bait's not going to get too deep, but it's the fall of the year, so I'm not really too concerned about getting a lot of depth. Most of the fish I'm going to catch up relatively shallow. The other thing to think about in crankbait fishing is you got to change speeds a lot. What you won't want to do is just get in the habit of throwing that bait out there and winding it in. Da, 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 da. Don't get in the habit of doing that. You catch little bitty tiny fish like that one. Don't get in the habit of just throwing it out there and winding it in. That's fine, and you'll catch a lot of fish just throwing that bait out there and winding it in. That was about a 10-incher I had on right there. But just throw it out there, but what you want to really think about doing is think about it all the time and be changing speeds constantly. Crank fast, crank slow, stop and go. That's about a good thing to remember. Crank fast, crank slow, stop and go. Doesn't hurt to pop your rod tip every now and then like such. That bait right there is a floating bait, meaning that if you stop the bait, it's going to float back up to the top. So every time you stop it, it's going to kind of start coming back up to the top. So what you want to do, you throw that bait out there, start winding it down, stop, wind, stop. You don't have to stop long. Do a lot of stop and go. You can wind quite a bit and stop. Always when you get up close to the boat, and you're throwing that thing out there, when you get up close to the boat, always slow down and pause, because a lot of times on all kinds of baits, but particularly on a crankbait, you got a bass that's following that. So when you get up here at the boat, always stop and let that bait float just a little bit right before you go ahead and wind it in. Many times you'll catch a fish right on your rod tip with that bait. So crankbaits on a windy day, it's really, really hard to beat. And particularly in the fall of the year like we are right now, where your water temperature is falling and the lake level is falling also. This lake's been up really, really high. You can kind of look at the banks and tell if the water's been really, really high. A good rule of thumb for crankbaits is if the water's falling, throw a crankbait. Now, will it hit other baits? Absolutely. Oh, there's a little fish right there. They'll hit other baits, no doubt about that. That is a giant spotted bass right there. That spotted bass is actually a 3-pounder. He's heavy for his length. There's a lot of different kind of banks that you can catch them on in the fall, depending on what kind of lake you're fishing, but this is one of the best places right here in the fall of the year. It's what we call a chunk rock bank, and the chunk rocks can be this big, or they can be as big as a Volkswagen, which is what some of those are right there. What that does, it allows crawfish to get in there and get on that bank, and allows them to hide, and those fish will get in there, and when you have the wind blowing like it is right now, it's blowing shad in on the bank. But chunk rock banks like that is really, really good during the fall of the year. In fact, if you see a bank like that just about any time of the year, it can have a good possibility of having fish. But the fall of the year, these type banks like this, really, 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 really good. There's a fish right there. One of the things you can do is simply get on points, go from point to point to point. That's about the easiest thing in the world, easiest way in the world to catch fish on a crankbait, or any kind of bait for that matter. Just go from point to point to point. A little small bass there, but he acts like a flathead. Acts like a big flathead. Could be a channel cat, could be a big carp, but he acts like a big giant flathead. I don't have any idea how deep he is. I don't want to put too much pressure on because I don't want to break my line. And I also don't want to pull the hook loose. There he goes again. We might be here a while. This might be a 20 or 30 minute fight. It's a big fish, so. I mean, it's a big fish. Golly, it's a big fish. This is a bonus when you fish a big crankbait. This is that little bitty crankbait. It's not even a big one. And I got one hook broke off of it, so I don't have a lot of hooks there. I just hope he doesn't come unbuttoned. This could be like a really big fish. I don't know. I mean, he's tremendously heavy. I'm not really gaining much on him. He might not even fit in that dip net. I've noodled catfish out of this lake that weigh 50 pounds. I think 58 or something like that's the biggest I've ever caught. It's going to take a long time to land this fish. I think I saw him. He was black looking. There he is right there. There he is. Big catfish. Big flathead. Just hooked on the very end hooks. The very end hooks. My gosh. Looky there, sports fans. Looky there, looky there. I want you to look at that little deep smoothie. Look how I had him hooked. I got one little tiny treble hook in him. One little tiny treble hook in him. One. Look at that. Look at that. That's all that had him right there. It's got him good though. I can't even get it unhooked. It's halfway straightened out. Looky there, that's all. It had him good. This poor little bait is not going to have any hooks on it left at all. Look at that. You guys, look at that hook is straightened out. If I can get it out of my dip net. Hey, this is really something. I mean, this is really something right here. I want to get that out of there. Here you go, sports fans. That is a big catfish. Looky there. Woo! Oh my goodness. My goodness. Here. At the bottom other part. He's just barely hooked. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
That is a big catfish. Oh, up and down would be better probably. Okay. Okay, sports fans, that is it. That's a 25-pound catfish right there. That's a 25-pound flathead right there. Now, back when I was in college, that would have been money on the table right there. But out here, tell you what I'm going to do with this big catfish. I'm going to turn him loose. Looky here. If he's on a trot line, he's somebody else that caught him, probably get eat. There he goes right there. Woo! I love it. That's a bonus when you're crankbaiting right there. I've caught a lot of catfish in my lifetime on crankbaits. I caught a 35-pound blue cat fishing not a BASS FLW tournament on a Potomac River on a jig in about that deep of water, flipping in some pads. Well, no, it wasn't pads. It's some high sensor grass or something, but I was flipping in there. I got, look at there. Look at my dip net. Look at my dip net, spinnerbait dip net. Look at there. I got crankbaits in there. I got spinnerbaits. I everything in the world with that one hook. That's the only thing about a dip net. They're pretty handy, but I got my blade stuck in there. I don't know how to get all that loose. I'm so nervous I can't hardly see straight. I just knew that, well, now I got the hook back in it. I got the end of it off with the blade and I can't get the rest of it out. Come on out of there. Come on out of there, please. Okay, look at there. That's a long spinnerbait right there. That's a long spinnerbait right there. Okay, now this has still got a hook in it. Wow, that was fun. Wow. That is amazing right there. That is amazing. You know, I wouldn't have been surprised. That was about 25 pounds. I wouldn't have been surprised if that fish had weighed 30 or 40 pounds. The way he was pulling, I wouldn't have been surprised. Hope I don't drift up on the bank. Man, he hit that bait. He hit it hard. I mean, he hit it hard. The way he was pulling, I thought it was a big flathead. And sure enough, it was. I don't know if I'm ever getting my hook out of here or not. The hooks wasn't in here after I dip netted. After I took the hook out of the fish's mouth, the only hook that was in there was just the one that was on the bait. Well, Jimmy, I got the other one in there, and it don't have but 2 hooks on it.
Careful on this side too. Right here.
Huh. It's hung down in the... Okay, there's one of them out of there. I got the hook out. Well, look at here. Here's another one up here. Here's another one hung in there. I'll tell you what. If you lose your crankbait, just stick your dip net down there. This thing will get every crankbait in the bottom of the lake. I'd drag this thing along the bottom. Start me enough crankbaits, enough baits to start a tackle store. Let me out of here. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. Did you see that big catfish? Holy moly, it was that long. Oh my gosh. I wonder what my hooks look like. That one hook that was hooked in him, the one hook, this is a little American Original Deep Smoothie. Look at that line. The line is all frayed. It's all frayed. It's afraid of breaking. I'm going to have to retie. So look at here. Now, here's what I got. This hook, of course, broke that off. But like I said, you know, that'll allow you to, you know, when that lay up in there, that bait comes up against stuff that's going to lay back, you're not going to get hung. But now here's my problem. Here's the one. That's the only one that had the catfish right there. That is the only one. And probably if I bend it around very much, it's going to break. It was almost straightened out, and yet it was still holding. These are amazing hooks that they put on these. You know, when I tie a crankbait on, I use just a regular Jimmy Houston knot. Y'all know how to tie that. Let me just show you how you tie it right here. I'm shaking so bad I can't hardly tie nothing on or do nothing. I'm just like, I just knew that big fish was going to get away. One of the things about a catfish, though, that line tastes like catfish. One of the things about a catfish that's good, got the wrong end in my mouth, is that you know, they got kind of a sinewy type mouth. So I'll have to go way up here. Okay, double your line, take the double line, run it through the eye of your hook, just like I've done right here. I don't have an eye of a hook here. What I've got is a split ring on the front of this little deep smoothie. Drop your bait down like this. Got 2 fingers, got double line laying on the index finger of my left hand. The double line I run through the eye of the hook, I'm going to lay right beside it. Come underneath that finger. I'm simply going to wrap it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you got the little loop right up here by your finger you created by wrapping it. I'm going to go right through that loop there. I can get it through there. And I'm going to cinch everything down. Got it through there, wet it, cinch everything down real tight. real tight. Put that in there, tighten it up, kind of pretty up there. What you got then to cut off is you got the end and you got the loop that you put through the split ring to begin with. You got a pair of size cutters or scissors, you can just cut that off. I don't, so I'm gonna have to use my needle nose. I probably got some scissors in here somewhere. And that's a pure 100% Jimmy Houston knot. That, sports fans, was a big catfish, wasn't it? I'm telling you what, I had that thing on. If it had weighed 40 or 50 pounds, it wouldn't have surprised me. But it's a big, big catfish. I mean, a big one. Hey, if you like Jimmy Houston Outdoors YouTube, share it with 8 or 10 of your friends. Tell them to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit that little notification bell so you won't miss a single video. We post every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday, then wherever else we got something good to post. Later, guys and girls. I love you.